Hey guys, this video is going to be a review of Emma, a Modern Retelling by Alexander McCall Smith, which I talked about in my wrap-up that I filmed just 2 days ago. I won this from Goodreads quite a bit ago. This is an ARC, as you can probably tell from this and the publication stuff being on the bottom. So I think the giveaway for this was in like probably March or April, so I've had it since then. And as you can obviously tell from the title, it is a modern retelling of Jane Austen's Emma, which I read last year. And the fact that I had just read it like 6 months or so maybe before this giveaway, if this giveaway really was in the spring, was a huge reason why I entered the giveaway. A lot I could say about this book, but I'm going to try and like condense it down a bit. Basically, this does stay pretty true to Emma. Like I said, it's been a year since I read it, but from what I remember, this stays pretty true to Emma. I just feel like, I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I said what it was for sure in my wrap-up, but I'm pretty sure it was 3 stars. And I just feel like if you're going to make something into a modern retelling, there has to be something that makes the retelling worth it, like a reason why you'd read the retelling instead of the original, and I didn't really feel that with this. I would have rather reread the original. A lot of the times it was very easy to forget that the book was even a modern retelling. It had modern things. They drove cars. Emma's dad is like obsessed with hygiene and like diet and diseases and things in a way that he reads like science journals and things, and obviously that involves science that wasn't around or like known during the time where Emma was originally set and things like that. So the author did use the modern setting. I just didn't feel like it added enough to the book that it made the retelling worth it. There were a few times where it just really didn't work for me. Like he decides that he's going to find a governess for his daughters, and he has to look in like this magazine for governesses, and I can't remember exactly what it says, but there's something in the book about how like no one has governesses anymore, and like how is there still one around and things like that. And just it was a very obvious sort of old-fashioned-y sort of thing, and it was kind of emphasized in the book, which made it more obvious. But also, like, I feel like there were other ways that could have been done. I feel like there are possibly other better ways that Miss Taylor could have been brought into the story in a modern retelling that would have made more sense than making her a governess, but had like the same effect on the story. I think there are ways that could have been done, and it would have fit with the modern retelling better, and it would have been more original, because obviously she's a governess in the original, so if you make her relationship with them like a bit different but also the same in a retelling, then it's more interesting because it's a bit more of a difference from the original. But that was just one thing where I was kind of like, yeah, this feels very old-fashioned. Like, so much of this felt old-fashioned. Part of that came from them being from such like old families that like the author kind of used that, I think, to like emphasize this like old-fashionedness and keep it closer to the original. But I think it would have been better to like emphasize the modern more, since that's the entire point of the retelling. And now I'm going to get into spoilers, which if you've read the original Emma shouldn't be like a huge thing, but just fair warning, there are going to be some spoilers. So in this version, Philip Elton, he gets caught drinking and driving, which is obviously like a modern thing, and I feel like that was the place in the story where the modern thing worked for me the most. I liked how that was handled, and that was a very like modern sort of like way to do it. But the one thing that was like just I could not deal with, it's been a year since I read the like actual Emma, So I can't exactly remember how many times over the course of Emma that Emma and Knightley have conversations, but I remember them talking in the original way more than I remember them talking in this. And I'm not going to go through this book again and count how many times they have conversations, but I swear it's only like twice. I think they're in the same room like 4 times and probably have like 2 conversations. And it was to the point where when I was like halfway through the book, I genuinely wondered if she was going to wind up with him in this, because she had to, but he had hardly been in the book. I think like halfway through the book I feel like he's only in like 1 scene, and then I was about, I don't know, this far into the book and I was like, okay, how is she going to wind up with him? There was also the fact that the age gap is more noticeable in this version, which is like, I don't think necessarily, there was like, I think it was towards the beginning where they were discussing Knightley and we're having an actual discussion about his age and its like difference with Emma, and it was this whole like, well, he's not that much older than you, and she's like, yeah, like I think, what is it, 12 years? I think it's 12 years. She's like, yeah, 12 years isn't that bad, like it's not, like it feels longer when you're a teenager than when you're an adult. And it's just, the conversation felt so obviously there to justify the age gap. I was like, it just would have been so much better if they just like went with it instead of trying, like is she 20 or 22? For some reason I know that she's 20 or 22 and not 21, but I can't remember which she is. I think she's 20. I think she's 20. And I'm thinking 22 because I'm 22, I don't know. But she, like, if it had just not been focused on that much, because it didn't have to even be brought up at all. Like, you could have just not mentioned their ages and it probably would have been fine. But they did, and then they had this whole conversation trying to justify it within the book, and I was, just go with it, don't explain it, because it was so obvious what the author was trying to do, and I was reading it like, okay, and I didn't like that. And then I swear, I don't even know if they have 2 conversations, guys, it might only be 1. I swear they only say like 5 words to each other, and it just drove me crazy. I know they talked more in the original than they do in this one. I don't know what happened in this one, but like Knightley's there like 3 or 4 times, I swear, in the course of the entire story, and when he is there, never talks, or like not even doesn't talk, he doesn't do anything. Like he's just, it's like, it's mentioned that he's there, but then he's never mentioned again. At least that's what it felt like at the end, and so that drove me crazy. So yeah, this book wasn't terrible. I would definitely recommend reading Jane Austen's Emma over this, and I think that it's just an all-around better choice than reading this, because I had a lot of problems with this book, even though it wasn't terrible. So yeah, I think that's all that I have to say, so I will see you guys later. Bye.